on April 26, 1919, 54 years after the ratification of 13th Amendment and just half year after the end of the most destructive war at that time. World War I, the picturesque campus of the University of Maine in Orono became the backdrop for a tumultuous event that would later be known as the 1919 Red Summer. This incident involved the Courtney brothers, the only two people of color in their class and among a mere dozen in the entire university. So who were the Courtney brothers and what had exactly happened to them on a college campus? The Courtney brothers, sophomore students at the University of Maine in the summer of 1919, were students who found themselves in a predominantly white institution with no clear records on why they faced such adversity. But on this cold night of April 26, 1919, at 2 a.m. in the morning, a mob of 60 rowdy white students at the University of Maine surrounded the dorm room of Samuel and Roger Courtney in Hannibal Hamlin Hall. 3 freshmen trespass into their dorm and attempt to secretly knock the Courtney brothers off. Although outnumbered, the Courtney brothers escaped. They knocked 3 freshman attackers out cold in the process. Soon a mob of hundreds of students and community members formed to finish what the freshmen had started. The mob captured the brothers and led them about 4 miles back to campus with horse halters around their necks. Before a growing crowd at the livestock viewing pavilion, members of the mob held down Samuel and Roger as their heads were shaved and their bodies stripped naked in the near-freezing weather. They were forced to slop each other with hot molasses. The mob then covered them with feathers from their dorm room pillows. The victims and bystanders cried out for the mob to stop, but to no avail. Local police, alerted hours earlier, arrived only after the incident ended. No arrests were made. Why are the white students so picky on the Courtney brothers? What are their reasons? Unfortunately, there are no official records explaining the discriminatory atmosphere at the University of Maine during that time, and no first-hand account for what's really the cause of this incident. The newspaper of the University of Maine on May 6, 1919 reported only a tiny section on the second page and described the victims as had previously been requested to withdraw from the university for violation of rules, with no or further compensation to the victim, except sophomores determined, as they say, to repay this treatment, and visited the Courtney's room. We had no further chances to learn what really happened from the victim, as yearbook records showed the Courtney's brothers never finished their education at the University of Maine. Samuel Courtney passed away in 1929 with no descendants. Roger Courtney, who worked in a real estate investment, died a year later, leaving a pregnant wife and toddler behind. The year 1919, just months after the end of World War I, as the Treaty of Versailles was being negotiated on June 28, 1919, the world was still reeling from the consequences of the Great War. Black veterans returned from the war were claiming their given respect, while racism and social discrimination were still heavily rooted in American society. Outbreak for what was known as the Red Summer 1919, however, was not well known to the current generation. For events such as the student riot in Orono, Maine, scarcely anything had reached the public.
Everyone, can you please introduce yourselves first?
I'm Faith.
I'm Susie. Okay. Do you guys know anything about the Red Summer of 1919? No. Okay.
Personally, for me, I always think that taking a stand and making change is really important. If any student was being hazed or bullied, I'm not the type of person that would be indifferent and just ignore it. But I don't know, I think a lot of people during that time, even if they wanted to do something, couldn't really do anything.
Their way of achieving social justice, I can tell from like many different movements that Black women, like the Black Lives Matter, and I think there's many more. I couldn't recall one right now, but like I could tell that they're on their way.
For the direct reason behind the incidents of the Courtney brothers, it might be because of their father, Dr. Samuel Courtney, who was a well-respected and prominent black doctor in the Boston area. Dr. Samuel Courtney was born into slavery in Malden, Virginia in 1861. It was at Malden when Dr. Courtney met with one of the most influential black figures in the 1900s, Booker T. Washington. Later, Dr. Courtney attended Harvard Medical School and graduated with a medical degree. Courtney then stayed in Boston, settling there, but still worked with Washington. It was soon that Washington became the strongest black leader at the time, who developed the National Negro Business League, which was formed in Courtney's house in 1900. The group was formed to help black business owners prosper, and it still operates to this day under a new name, the National Business League. It was shown that Dr. Courtney was a prominent and well-respected figure in the African American community in Boston. During that time, even his funeral was reported in a Boston newspaper, which also included the Courtney brothers as his remaining. The riots in University of Maine during 1919 to the Courtney brothers was not a coincidence, rather a premeditated retaliation against well-respected African-American figure. The Chicago Defender and Boston newspapers played a pivotal role in bringing this incident to light. Despite the University of Maine's attempt to hide and downplay the event, these media outlets reported the truth, ensuring that the Courtney brothers' story was not buried in silence. Activist during Red Summer at the University of Maine serves as a reminder of the struggles faced by pioneers like the Courtney brothers. It's a chapter in history that demands reflection, discussion, and a commitment to ensuring that such injustices are never repeated. This is not just a story about the past, but a call to action for a more inclusive and equitable future.